So, everyone's favorite African leader, at least for the past year or so, Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso, has banned same-sex marriage in the country. Why? Why has he banned same-sex marriage? And now there's an outrage. Everybody is outraged because Ibrahim Traore has banned same-sex marriage. Parliament right now, the country, form of government and the lawmakers in the country, everyone put their hands up and agreed that same-sex marriage should be banned in Burkina Faso. Why? Why out of a sudden, a few years ago, Burkina Faso adopted the law of same-sex marriage. They didn't oppose it. Why out of a sudden? Why now they begin to hey, let's pump the brakes. Now, if you are African and you live in Africa for a while, this is not a surprise. You know this. Nigeria, you know this. Ghana, you know this. Cote d'Ivoire, you know this. Liberia, you know this. Same-sex marriage is pretty much frowned upon, not just in government, but in local lives. Even in part of your family. If they notice that you indulge yourself in some kind of same-sex marriage and loving the same sex, they kind of shunt you, they push you aside, they talk down to you, they pretty much disown you if your father or your mother know that about you. So this is not just about politics, this is about what is rooted down within most of those older folks on the continent. So let's talk about it. Breaking news out of West Africa: Burkina Faso have officially criminalized homosexuality. A country that once tolerated same-sex relationship now said you could face years in prison just for the one you love. This shocking move has sparked outrage worldwide. On September 2nd, 2025, Burkina Faso Transitional Parliament passes a law that makes homosexuality illegal. That's right, illegal. You cannot indulge yourself inside of it. The thing about it is the same day they implement that law, the same day they pass that law, the same day it become illegal. The same minute it become illegal. There was no delay. There was nothing to say, oh, maybe next week or maybe a couple of days from now. No. The same minute, the same hour that law was passed, the same hour, the same minute, it became illegal. The government said that it is about protecting traditional family value and about the culture. Yeah, they're going to give you that pitch. They're going to tell you that. The reason why they're trying to ban this is because, according to that word, they're trying to preserve that traditional family values. They're trying to preserve their culture. That is the pitch they are giving you. And this didn't just happen overnight. Right? The parliament didn't just come together overnight and says, oh, you know what? Let's just ban this. No, this been happening. This been in the works. So, in July of 2024, the ruling junta led by Ibrahim Traore drafted this amendment. 2024, this amendment was drafted. 2023, they begin to put this into play. They begin to outcast medias that promote homosexuality and same-sex marriages. They begin to ban them out of the country. They begin to push them aside. So they begin to push them aside. 2023, 2024, the government led by Ibrahim Traore drafted the amendment about banning same-sex marriage. 2025, September 2nd, it got into play, right? The law actually got into play, banning same-sex marriage. So it been happening. Like, just people haven't been knowing about it, but it been happening. They've been about this. Ibrahim Traore have been about this. It's not just suddenly. This is just happening right away.
The government says it's an effort to modernise laws, but LGBT organisations will be viewing it as another step back for people's rights on the continent. Fines and prison sentences await anybody engaging in or promoting homosexual or transgender activity, after Burkina Faso's junta passed legislation outlawing LGBT practices. A law that was passed unanimously on Monday by Burkina Faso's transitional parliament.
A person who engages in homosexual practices will appear before a judge and, in the event of a repeat offence, be deported if you are not a Burkinabe national.
The move comes less than a year after the country's neighbouring ally, Mali, which is also ruled by a military junta, adopted a law criminalising homosexuality. Ghana and Uganda have also recently toughened their laws. And while same-sex relationships are outlawed in around a third of the world's countries, a large number of African nations remain particularly hostile.
Again, this is not just about Burkina Faso, right? It is not about Burkina Faso alone. Most African countries indulge themselves with this, right? They always ban same-sex marriages. Ghana does the same thing. Nigeria does the same thing. Liberia does the same thing. Even Cote d'Ivoire does the same thing. So it's not just about Burkina Faso, even though they are the latest to do that. but it's the culture. It's how people, the whole government view these things. Even though the younger population in these countries is pretty much open to same-sex marriages, but those that have been so diluted into their own self, into their own religion, into their own politics, and the whole important offices are the important voices in the country, they oppose this. Some of them pretty much for political points, or maybe to look strong or to feel strong. That might be the reason, but they're gonna give you all kind of ridiculous pitch. Hey, it's about traditional family value. It's about the culture. It's not about that, because most young adults on the African continent, they pretty much open up to same-sex marriages.
This map charts an equality index, measuring the current laws and public attitudes towards LGBT people. The higher the number, the more friendly the country is deemed to be. In some countries, anti-LGBT laws date from the colonial era, while in others, a religious resurgence has seen a growth in anti-gay opinions and laws. Over half of Africa's 54 countries criminalise same-sex activity, and the relaxing of laws in some has been met with demonstrations, such as here in Namibia and in Kenya. Cape Verde and South Africa are by large deemed the friendliest. South Africans became the first on the continent to be allowed to marry people of the same sex in 2006.
Wow. So just Haiti and South Africa now is open up to same-sex marriages, but the whole continent doesn't want it. They oppose it. So again, this is not just about Burkina Faso. It's about just the trend in the whole African continent. I know people put like their mouth or they talk down to the United States and how things are and how they don't care. In some way, they don't care about, when it comes to like giving aid. The Republican, make that clear already. But in the United States, you can pretty much do whatever you want with yourself legally, of course. In terms of like the same-sex marriages, you pretty much open up. You can indulge yourself into these activities, and that's what freedom is, right? That's kind of form of a freedom, right? Because you can do whatever you want, love whatever you want, be whoever you want to be. But in those African countries, there are form of freedom, but not total freedom, right? Like I said earlier, even your own family can be against it, and they can shun you for this. Not just publicly, but even privately as well.
Thanks so much for being with us on the programme. As we say, Burkina Faso becoming the latest African nation to criminalise same-sex relations. Why, in your view, is this happening now?
Thank you very much for this opportunity. And this is sad news to come by, but it's not surprising. As you may be aware, recently we have received a lot of interest by anti-rights groups in Africa, increasing their activities and encouraging our state laws houses to pass such laws. Of course, as you may be aware, from 2013, they have increased their activities, starting from Uganda, Ghana, Kenya, even in Francophone countries, where we see a number of Francophone countries that did not have laws that criminalize LGBT people. So this is not surprising, but it is worrying that this trend keeps increasing and making LGBT people look like the butts of the joke, which means that LGBT people are always criminalized and used as scapegoats for a number of these laws that are passed, especially around family.
And talk to us a little bit then about the kind of effects that these laws are having on people. Rights groups reporting that the LGBT community is dealing with arbitrary arrests in certain countries and detention and just general discrimination.
Exactly. And most of the times when we talk about these laws, one of the key things is the violence that happens to LGBT people because of the existence of this law. Violence by non-state actors, when people take the law into their own hands because they know there's an existing law that criminalizes LGBT people, then they're able to harm them further and go without being punished.
Yeah, that's it. There's a lot of harm towards LGBTQ community in Africa. And the crackdown to see if you gay is pretty much extreme in terms of like people pretty much gonna watch you, what you say, especially when it comes to WhatsApp messages or maybe Facebook messages. They look at the way you dress, they look at the way you talk, they can judge you on those things as well. And they can even stop you from serving you, or they can stop you, accuse you of that, and that can lead you to even prison time or heavy fine. In most of these countries, you might face the death penalty as well. So it's largely frowned upon, and these violence towards this group are real, are very real. It's not just saying it, but being part of it, being there and viewing these things, you will be very surprised in what's happening. And it's not good. It's very unsettling.
I am a Nigerian man who was born in Nigeria, in Aba, Abia State specifically, before moving to America. I also happen to be a man who finds some men, some men physically, emotionally, and sexually attractive. And believe it or not, even in 2025, the idea of being in a closet, it just sounds so weird to me, but I know some people are slow as shit, not a problem. But even more sad and weird and cringy as shit is the idea for me, Uchejuku from Abia State, to be in the closet hiding my sexuality for people in Nigeria. Like, let me give you an example. I remember when I was a kid in Nigeria, in Aba, after our dustbin will full, as in the dustbin that has been sitting in your kitchen all day long, all week long, my people will carry that dustbin and go in the middle of the road and just drop the dustbin about. Instead of you to go and find a refuge, maybe you bought a dustbin, you carry the dustbin and go in the middle of the road to drop your trash in the middle of the road. These are people that have intelligence, and these are the people that I'm supposed to be hiding my sexuality for.
So what the takeaway from the video? The takeaway from the video is that don't mind what is being said on the West. If you live in one of those African countries that ban same-sex marriages, you need to hide it, right? Because until the law pass, until people are more open towards it, and you're not being hurt, you're not being harmed because of your sexual orientation, you got to hide it. You have to hide it. Even your own family can rat you out. Even your own family will push you aside because you happen to like the same sex and you happen to love somebody or you care about somebody. They will begin to turn their back on you. So don't mind these West influencers that will come and just like be yourself, do what you gotta do, express yourself, and if they don't like you for who you are, let them be. Because here in America, you work, you make your own money, you can do whatever you want yourself. In Africa, you're depending on your family. You're depending on people to pitch in, maybe to give you some money. People are helping you in directly or indirect way. You're depending on the people, right? So if your life is pretty much depending on somebody a little bit, you don't have that luxury to do whatever you want to live your most authentic life. So for your own safety, for your family safety, if you indulge yourself into the kind of things, I don't say push it aside, but keep it very private, keep it very tight. Air should not even enter that circle. Keep it very tight. Live your life peacefully and in private. Come to the West, or maybe one day your country will adapt that same-sex marriages, and then you can come out of the closet. But until then, stay in that closet for your safety, for your health, for your family's sake. Don't mind these Western influencers that will come and just tell you to do whatever you want to do, because they have not lived in the reality, in your reality. They have not lived there. And I live in Liberia for 14 years. I hardly heard about those things. And if you are indulging those things, you don't say it. That's a secret. You don't say it. You just relax. You and your partner do your thing. Pretend as it is. And just keep it private. Keep it private. If you like the channel, subscribe to the channel. Let's keep it going.